Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Module 1 on safety planning and implementation in the context of systemic risk and in accordance with the commitments of the 2030 Agenda. And welcome more particularly to Module 1.3, entitled An International Architecture for Safe Schools. The agenda of Module 1.3 is quite straightforward, as I will introduce to you a series of key initiatives that altogether contribute to build the International Architecture for Safe Schools. So I will first start with the Worldwide Initiative for Safe Schools, or WIS. Then I will share with you some information on the regional initiatives for safe schools and the Global Alliance for Disaster Risk Reduction and Resilience in Education Sector, or GADRRRES. And I will finally introduce the Global Coalition to Protect Education from Attack. So let's start with the Worldwide Initiative for Safe Schools. The Worldwide Initiative for Safe Schools is a government-led global partnership for advancing safe school implementation at the national level. This initiative was initially launched in 2015 by UNDRR with the technical support from the members of the Global Alliance for Disaster Risk Reduction and Resilience in the Education Sector. The Worldwide Initiative for Safe Schools has three main components. The first one is the global advocacy and policy support component in order to support governments in making safe schools a national priority as part of their education sector and national disaster risk reduction strategies, policies, plans, and budget by 2020. The second main component is the technical assistance one in order to implement a comprehensive approach to school safety through the technical pillars of the Comprehensive School Safety Framework. So, for Pillar 1, Safe Learning Facilities, Pillar 2, School Disaster Management, and Pillar 3, Risk Reduction and Resilience Education. And the last component that WIS includes is the component on progress monitoring and reporting in order to track down and report back on progress in implementing safe schools on the ground, including at technical policy, institutional, and legal levels. Today, 58 countries have joined WIS. So you have all the list of the countries that have joined the Worldwide Initiative for Safe Schools appearing here on the slide, and further information can be found on the GADRRRES website. Let's now move on to the regional initiatives for safe schools. The adoption of the Hyogo Framework for Action has been followed by a series of international commitments for mainstreaming disaster risk reduction with a focus on education infrastructure. An example is the statement resulting from the 5th meeting of the Regional Consultative Committee on Disaster Management, known as the Hanoi RCC5 Statement, which was ratified by 19 Asian countries who met in Vietnam in May 2005. But there is also the Daily Declaration on Disaster Risk Reduction in Asia that was ratified in 2007, the Bangkok Action Agenda of 2007, the Ahmedabad Action Agenda for School Safety in 2007 as well, and the Islamabad Declaration on School Safety in 2008 for the Asia-Pacific region. But we may also note the first step of the Americas and the Caribbean region with the Panama Declaration on Disaster Risk Reduction in the Education Sector. From this series of commitments, a series of key regional initiatives have flourished, and I will give you an example, one in the Asia-Pacific and one in the Latin America and the Caribbean region. So let's first start with the one in the Asia-Pacific region. In this region, the ASEAN Agreement on Disaster Management and Emergency Response, which is a disaster risk reduction legally binding instrument that was put into force in 2009 by the ASEAN member states, identifies school safety as a strategic component. But in order to achieve the objective of this RRDMER work program, 2010-2015 in the education sector, the ASEAN Safe School Initiative, or ASI, was established in 2013. ASI is actually the sub-regional initiative of the Asia-Pacific Coalition for School Safety, or the APCSS, which is also an affiliate to the Global Alliance, a regional affiliate of the Global Alliance on Disaster Risk Reduction and Resilience in the Education Sector, or GADRRRES. So here on the slide you can see the program strategy of ASI for 2017-2020, which are 1. Supporting development of a member state-driven intersectoral leadership and coordinating structure for ASI. 2. Strengthening national capacities on school safety. 3. Facilitating and supporting the country and regional monitoring and assessment of CSS progress using identified CSS indicators. 4. Building communities of practice. And 5. Information and knowledge management. The second main initiative I would like to share with you is the one that is currently occurring in the Caribbean, which is the Caribbean Safe School Initiative. Actually, this Caribbean Safe School Initiative was launched in April 2017 during the first Caribbean Ministerial Forum on School Safety. The CSSI, as we can call it, is the suggested framework to advance school safety in the Caribbean and is actually the Caribbean contribution to the worldwide initiative for safe schools, or WIS, that we just saw earlier. The Caribbean Safe School Initiative is supported by the Antigua and Barbuda Declaration on School Safety, which is currently endorsed by 18 Caribbean countries. And then school safety action guiding the commitment to the declaration are guided by the Caribbean Roadmap for School Safety, which was developed during the first Caribbean Forum on School Safety in 2017, but that was updated in 2019 during the second Caribbean Ministerial Forum on School Safety. So you can see on the slide the priority areas of the Caribbean Safe School Initiative, which are to develop enabling policies and national plans and strategies, to secure human and financial resources, to enhance and implement a standardized school safety assessment, to develop a safe school standard, to review and develop multi-hazard school safety plans and guided documents, to improve coordination among stakeholders, to review and update disaster risk management components of the curriculum, and finally to train school staff, families, and the community in disaster risk management. So just to mention, the third Caribbean Ministerial Forum on School Safety that was originally scheduled in 2021 in Saint Martin had to be postponed to 2022 because of the coronavirus pandemic. But in place, a virtual Caribbean Safe School Initiative Pre-Ministerial Forum was held online from 15 to 26 March 2021 in advance of this third Ministerial Forum, and you can find all the recorded sessions on the internet, on the UNDRR website. Now, before concluding on these key regional initiatives, I just wanted to go back and provide you with a sort of a general overview of the school safety global architecture. So here on this slide, you can see on the left the comprehensive school safety framework, which is actually the comprehensive approach to reducing risk from all hazards to the education sector, and that will be introduced to you in more details in the MOOC. Then in the middle, you have the political commitment, political initiatives such as WIS, for instance, so the initiatives that are really led by governments. So at the global level, we have the Worldwide Initiative for Safe Schools. And then, as we just saw, we have the Caribbean Safe School Initiative. And we have also for the Asia Pacific, the Asia Safe School Initiative, or ASI. And finally, on the right, you have the groups that are providing the technical support to facilitate the implement and to ensure the implementation of these initiatives. So at the global level, we have the Global Alliance for Disaster Risk Reduction and Resilience in Education sector that we are going to introduce in a minute. And then we have at the regional level the Asia Pacific Coalition for School Safety, which is especially supporting the ASI, and who is also a regional affiliate of the Global Alliance. And also for the LAC region, we have the Latin America and the Caribbean Disaster Risk Management in the Education Sector Group, which is also an affiliate, regional affiliate of the Global Alliance, who is providing support together with CDIMA, especially on the implementation of the Caribbean Safe School Initiative. Now let's reach to the Global Alliance for Disaster Risk Reduction and Resilience in the Education sector, or GADRRRES. So GADRRRES actually was known as GADRRRES, I would say, in 2013, because just to provide you with a little bit of background, actually it was after the World Conference for Disaster Risk Reduction that was held in 2005 that a cluster was established to promote knowledge and education for disaster risk reduction. And then in 2006, this cluster was formalized into the thematic platform on knowledge and education, which was recognized as a UNDRR thematic platform. And then since 2006, this thematic platform composed of UN bodies, international NGOs, and other regional partners was making significant contributions to the conceptual development of DRR education and knowledge, but because the community of practice and governing global frameworks evolved, so has the thematic platform, which actually became the Global Alliance for Disaster Risk Reduction and Resilience in the Education sector in 2013. So today, GADRRRES includes 17 international members. So you have all the logos of the members on the slide. So there is UNESCO, UNICEF, UNDRR, Save the Children, IEP UNESCO, IFRC, Plan International, Red International, the World Bank, ARUP, the Child Fund Alliance, INEED, World Vision, RiskRed, Israel, the Global Buildings Performance Network, and also, last but not least, the United Nations Major Group for Children and Youth, who joined us this year. And beyond these general members, as I mentioned before, we also have 2 regional affiliates. So one in the Asia Pacific with the Asia Pacific Coalition for School Safety, and one in the Latin America and the Caribbean region with the Latin America and the Caribbean Disaster Risk Management in the Education Sector Group. So how the GADRRRES group is structured and how is it functioning? Actually, the GADRRRRES is composed of a steering committee, which is providing leadership to the alliance by serving as a management structure, and which includes the chair, the co-chair, the secretariat, the leads of the 6 working groups, and the representatives of the regional affiliates. Then GADRRRRES also has a secretariat, which is supporting the effective coordination of the group works as well. And then we have 6 working groups working on the implementation of a set of tasks that are each led and co-led by dedicated GADRRRRES members. So we have working group 1 on safe learning facilities, working group 2 on school disaster management, working group 3 on risk reduction and resilience education. So actually these 3 first working groups are directly related to the 3 pillars of the comprehensive school safety framework. And then we have working group 4 on policy and advocacy, working group 5 on research learning and knowledge management, and working group 6 on the CSS assessment suite, on which I will provide a bit more details a bit later in this presentation. The GADRRRRES members work together based on the work plan, which is composed of a set of task teams classified per category, so the steering committee, the secretariat, and the 6 working group. And then we have within each category a set of tasks that are each led by GADRRRRES members, and that also includes a set of partners to ensure the implementation of the task. So let's now share with you some examples of technical support that GADRRRRES members can provide. So first, in relation to Pillar 1 and Working Group 1 on safe learning facilities, we can mention the work undertaken by the World Bank colleagues, which is the global program for safer school. So actually, in face of many challenges related to school infrastructure, it appears to the World Bank that resilient school infrastructure is vital to ensuring the quality of learning environments, and the GPSS, which is the acronym for the Global Program for Safer School, has been developed with 4 main objectives. The first one was to build evidence-based knowledge and tools to inform large-scale investment that will improve the safety and resilience of school infrastructure. The second main objective was to promote and facilitate the integration of risk reduction criteria into school infrastructure investments. The third objective was to provide technical advice to developing countries designing medium-term school infrastructure plans. And the fourth and last objective was to support the resilience recovery of school infrastructure affected by natural hazards, events, and climate change. So through these programs, which is very much focused on school infrastructure, the World Bank is contributing to the efforts of the Global Alliance for Disaster Risk Reduction and Resilience in the Education sector. Another initiative under Pillar 1 that I would like to share with you today is the VISUS methodology that I know will be introduced to you in details during the MOOC, but I already would like to share with you some information on the methodology. The VISUS methodology, knowing that VISUS is an acronym for Visual Inspection for Defining Safety Upgrading Strategies, has been developed by the researchers of the UNESCO chair at the Sprint Lab University of Udine in Italy with the collaboration of UNESCO. And this methodology is a specific technical triage multi-hazard methodology that aims to facilitate the decision-making process in the definition of rational and effective safety upgrading strategies. It actually aims to allow decision makers to make science-based decisions on where and how they may invest their available resources for strengthening the safety of their school students and teaching staff in an efficient and economic manner before disaster. So pilot projects have been implemented in 7 countries, in Italy, Laos, Indonesia, El Salvador, Peru, Haiti, and Mozambique. And through this pilot project, the safety of more than 500,000 students and educational staff was assessed. And considering the positive results of this pilot project, the UNESCO guidelines for assessing learning facilities in the context of disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptations were published in 2019 and include 3 volumes. So perhaps the one you can see on the slide is volume 1, which is the Introduction to Learning Facilities Assessment and to the VISUS methodology. And this is actually the volume which is dedicated to decision makers, while volume 2 on the VISUS methodology and volume 3 on the VISUS implementation are more technical volumes. So the volume, these volumes will provide you with more information on the VISUS methodology and how to adapt it to a particular context. Now, reaching out to Pillar 2 and the work undertaken by Working Group 2 members, among the initiatives on which they've been working on, we can mention the one related to school emergency drills. So this work was first initiated by our colleagues from Save the Children with the support from donors. So here you have the research into action brief on school emergency drills that is available online and which include the following key messages. First, school drills plays a pivotal role in both the gradual improvement of school disaster risk reduction and response preparedness, that emergency response skills are important to master, and that school drills provide children and adults with important opportunities to learn and practice protective actions and build confidence in such actions. And then it also provides a set of key recommendations. So just to mention that this research into action brief has been published a few years ago, but GADRRRES members has been also quite recently working on development of a quality checklist and evaluation form on this topic of school emergency for school emergency drills and exercises. And so now reaching out, concerning Pillar 3 and Working Group 3 activities related to risk reduction and resilience education, we can give this example of the work undertaken by UNICEF and UNESCO, which have developed guidelines on how to embed disaster risk reduction into the formal curricula. So what UNICEF and UNESCO did is that they first started with a mapping of 13 countries that have already included DRR into their formal curricula, and then they checked the different approaches undertaken by these different countries to allow an effective inclusion of DRR into formal curricula. And actually they found 4 different approaches that you can see on the slide, so from approach 1 to approach 4. And these 4 approaches go from shallow to a deep way of considering DRR into the curricula. So based On this analysis, they developed the guidelines for education planners and more particularly to curricula developers to help them select one approach depending on their capacity or depending also on the way on how they want to integrate DRR into their curricula. Another initiative for Pillar 3 and Working Group 3 is the publication of the second edition of the Public Awareness and Public Education for DRR Action-Oriented Key Messages for Household and Schools. So we can perhaps shorten a little bit and call it the PAPE. The second edition was prepared by the International Federation for Red Cross and Red Cross Societies, or FRC, and also by our colleagues from Save the Children. And this second edition is a revised, updated, and enhanced tool building on the first edition that was published in 2013. And the second edition provides messages for all types of hazards, including 13 major hazards and family disaster preparedness. And we know that the actionable messages that are part of this PAPE, if they were universally practiced, we know that we could substantially avoid the effect and impact of disasters. Finally, I would like to introduce you with this. I would like to share with you some information on the CSS assessment suite, which is being developed by GADRRRES members who are affiliated to Working Group 6 on the same thematic. So the Comprehensive School Safety Assessment Suite aims to provide a set of tools to assist education sector actors in assessing comprehensive school safety and identifying schools with the most critical unsafe conditions. So at the moment, the CSS assessment suite includes a series of non-technical tools, such as, for instance, the CSS First Step, which is a crowdsourcing app for engaging students and communities in identifying hazards and risks as they relate to their local schools. And another non-technical tool we can mention is the CSS School Safe Assessment Survey, which is a paper survey and tablet-based application for non-technical assessment by school management committees and or visiting school officials to record hazards as well as conditions of school facilities and practice of school disaster management and risk reduction and resilience education. But the CSS assessment suite also includes some technical tools, such as, for instance, the VESUS methodology, on which we shared some information earlier. Finally, I will conclude this presentation by providing you with some information also on the Global Coalition to Protect Education from Attack, and which is also part of the initiatives that aim to build the architecture for safe schools. So, the Global Coalition to Protect Education from Attack is the unique interagency coalition that addressed the problem of targeted attacks on education during armed conflict. And actually, this coalition was established in 2010 by organizations from the fields of education in emergencies and conflict-affected fragile states, higher education, protection, international human rights, and international humanitarian law, who were concerned about ongoing attacks on educational institutions, their students and staff in countries affected by conflict and insecurity. So the vision of the Global Coalition to Protect Education from Attack is to ensure that all students, educators, and schools and universities are protected from attacks during armed conflict, including through prevention and response measures. And its mission is to protect education from attack through advocacy that leverages the strength of our diverse membership. So we cannot mention the work of the Global Coalition and not mention the Safe School Declaration, which is a key document indeed, as attacks on students, teachers, schools, and universities, and as well as the military use of educational infrastructure, have received increased attention in the recent years. The government of Norway, together with the government of Argentina, led a process among the United Nations member states to develop the Safe School Declaration. The Safe School Declaration was in the end endorsed in 2015, and it is the only international agreement dedicated to the protection of education in armed conflict. The Safe School Declaration states the following: every boy and girl has the right to education without fear and violence or attack. Every teacher, professor, and school administrator should be able to teach and research in conditions of safety, security, and dignity. Every school should be a protected space for students to learn and fulfill their potential even during war. Every university should be a safe place for students and academics and to foster critical and independent thinking and to harness knowledge. So if you are interested in learning more, please access the Safe School Declaration online on the Global Coalition website. Today, the Safe School Declaration has been endorsed by 109 states. So here you have the map showing which countries have endorsed the Safe Schools Declaration. Since the declaration was open for endorsement, good evidence has already emerged across different regions that its implementation leads to tangible improvements in protecting education. While measures to implement the various commitments in the declaration should be adapted according to the context and capacity of each state, the Global Coalition has collected some key examples of concrete measures to protect students and teachers from attack and schools and universities from attack and military use, which can serve as an inspiration for a different set of stakeholders and also fellow states. So among these initiatives, we can mention, for instance, the support to provide assistance to victims, or also the support to ensure continuity of education during armed conflict, and so on. So if you want to learn more, I would like to invite you to visit the Global Coalition website and also to have a look at their report entitled Education Under Attack 2020, that documents attacks on education in situations of armed conflict and insecurity in 37 countries, and explores the motivation and impacts of attacks on education and the major trends. So on this slide, I will conclude this module on the International Architecture for Safe Schools. I thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a good continuation with the MOOC.